My mutant brain senses danger.
Something unseen is slowly spreading its poison, edging tempers.
Think carefully before you do this.
You filthy criminals.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey, we're live. And it's not Friday.
No, not Friday.
It's Thursday because we had to do the show a little early. But hey, welcome to episode 33 of Two Fat Guys Pool-less. Yeah, Nate.
We've been doing this a long time.
Yeah. Every Friday or Thursday sometimes.
Sometimes
but yeah,
Sundays.
Sometimes we just do it whenever we want. That came out wrong.
What?
Anyway.
Nope, that's the truth.
So let's get some business out of the way first. First of all, we always talk about Two Fat Guys Pool-less Mystery Pool. It's our monthly comic subscription service sponsored by Collected Comics and Brainy Comics here in Fort Worth, in the DFW area. So if you're interested, we have a comic book mystery pool subscription service that basically what that gets you is one store exclusive that everybody will get, and then 4 to 7 back issues that consist anywhere from bronze, silver, or modern age comic books. And then, if you subscribe for the month of March, you enter in for a chance to win a big key book. And so, for the month of March, Ron is giving away a 9.8 CBCS graded Department of Truth #1.
Crazy.
From the great Tinian. This book is absolutely amazing. It's on fire right now, and it has been bought for an option for either a TV show or a movie. We don't know quite yet, but this book will only get more and more valuable as time goes on. So if you want to win one of these, subscribe before the end of March to our mystery pool. And you can go to brainycomics.com, and I think we're like the fifth option is the mystery pool box. So that is that. So, before I say that, the store exclusive that you will get in the month of March is this Neil Adams Joker #1 variant cover.
Oh, damn it. That's what I meant to pick that up today.
I told you today. We were at the store. I was like, you should pick that up.
It just went, woof.
Right. You might still have one. But either way, if you subscribe, you will get this cover. And I think this cover is, I want to say it's valued anywhere between $15 to $20. So that's it's a pretty decent, takeaway right there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's that. Second piece of business. So before we get the show started, we're going to talk about our YouTube channel. So if you're watching this live, we do have a YouTube channel. If you're watching this as a past episode on YouTube, please subscribe. Please subscribe and hit that bell so you can get notified anytime we post any videos from our live videos, or even we have exclusive content over on our YouTube channel. That being said, we're getting ready to start a contest or a giveaway on our YouTube channel. So we are currently at 50 subscribers as of this video right now, and we are trying to hit certain goals. So we want to hit 100, then we want to hit 250, then we want to hit 500, and the ultimate goal right now, for the year at least, is to hit 1,000 subscribers. What up, Sarah? Thank you so much. I know you're subscribed. We appreciate it.
You're subscribed, but I haven't seen any comments, so you got to like and comment.
She's my wife. I can't say that, but Nate, you can say whatever you want. Either way, so we're going to be giving away slabs at every one of those milestones. So at 100 subscribers, we only need 50 more. Once we hit 100 subscribers, we are going to give away what, Nate?
We're going to give away this 9.6 Wolverine Origins #2.
Lift it up a little higher.
Oh,
there you
here we go.
Yeah.
This is actually the 1 in 50 Canadian variant.
Nice.
So they came out with 2. You can see the flag in his face right there a little bit. But yeah, this is a nice book. This is one of the older CGC cases. But man, it's I was looking at this book and it's actually in pretty damn good condition. I'm surprised it didn't get a 9.8. But also, I love that it has the official X3 video game preview on the back from 2002.
Definitely a jump back in time. Speaking of 9.8s, when we hit 250 subscribers, we will be giving away a 9.8 CGC graded Dark Knights, the Batman Who Laughs #1 Death Metal tie, or no, sorry, not Death Metal, Dark Knights Metal tie-in. So this isn't the first appearance, but this is his first solo book, The Batman Who Laughs from DC Comics. Then after that, when we hit 500 subscribers, we will be giving away a 9.4 Wolverine #1 from his first ongoing series. It's got the custom CGC label. So we will be giving this away at 500 subscribers. And then the big boy. So when we hit 1,000 subscribers, when we hit 1,000 subscribers, we are going to be giving away a 9.8 CBCS graded Amazing Spider-Man #4 from the original Sin series, the first appearance of Silk. So this book is blowing up as we speak right now, and it's only going to get hotter as time goes along. You know, I don't know what it's currently valued at. I think it's like around maybe $300.
$350. I saw 2 sell on Facebook today for $350.
$350, and then you know, probably when it gets announced that she has her own movie or she's in a movie or in a show, it's probably going to go way the hell up. So
yes,
this is the Grand Poobah. This is the one that we really want to give away, but we got to hit 1,000 subscribers, and the only way we can do that is with your support. So that is the slab giveaways that we will have for our YouTube channel. So again, if you're watching this live, just go over to our YouTube channel on YouTube, Two Fat Guys Pull List.
Oh wait,
if you're
I'll put that in there. Sorry.
Yeah, Nate's gonna put that in the chat for everybody that is here currently live. And if you're watching this video now as a past episode, go ahead and if you're not subscribed, subscribe. The other thing we'd like you to do is on our videos, please give us a like and comment on our videos. That'll give you a little bit more of a boost to actually win some of these slabs, or a better chance at winning these slabs. But yeah, that's what we're giving away. So that is it for our announcements. Pretty big announcements, but we're gonna go ahead and get on with the show because we got some comics. We got some comics to talk about this week.
Good ones.
Some pretty good ones. I agree with your assessment from our comic book haul video. I think it was a B+ week. It didn't step up to A, but you know, I'm overly optimistic. I want things to be good, but it wasn't a bad week. It was a pretty solid week.
Yeah.
So we're gonna kick off the show with Thor #13, Prey Part 5 from the great Donny Cates and Nick Klein. Yeah, this was a really good issue, man. It exceeded almost all of my expectations, if not, you know, it did. It exceeded all my expectations. I felt like the writing was phenomenal. Nick Klein and his artwork is always just so good. I believe is Matt Wilson on colors, or is that the letterer?
No, I believe he is on colors.
The colors on this book are really freaking good too.
Yes.
And I'll say this, like, for me, if a comic, if you end up reading the comic book and you want more, it's done its job. And
Right, sure.
this book ended, and I was like, I gotta wait a month. I think I have to wait longer, actually. I don't know. No, wait, we get one more.
Yeah, before this short break.
Because we don't get one in May, and then I think we get one in June. But yeah, so this book starts with getting a little bit of a backstory of Odin, Thor's dad, the original Allfather, ruler of Asgard, and we get a little backstory of how things went after the what was the event, War of the Realms. Essentially, yeah.
Right.
So after War of the Realms, things just didn't really go that well for Odin. His marriage fell apart. His life essentially fell apart. He got super depressed. And by the time he kind of got out of this like depression coma, everybody pretty much left him. and we basically see him like go to therapy, like cosmic therapy with what's her name? Freya. And then, you know, they kind of try to go on a honeymoon. It doesn't work out. And then by the time he like snaps out of it, she's gone. She leaves him. And so, you know, I don't know. I'm not versed in how he actually left. I don't know if you are.
I mean, that's pretty much it. He decides that it's time for him to leave, and he steps down.
Gotcha. So in the last issue, Valkyrie found, or Jane Foster found Odin in a bar, and he was just drinking his sorrows away. So in this issue, we see that little, you know, history lesson, and then we continue to see Jane Foster sucker punched the hell out of Thor and gives him a history lesson of like what's been going on since he's been away. And he kind of chalks it up when he hears that. He's like, Thor can take care of it. He's my son. He can figure it out. And she goes, he's trapped in the in the world tree. Thor is trapped in the world tree. Donald Blake has escaped the tree, has killed the world serpent, has consumed so much Asgardian power. Do I have to keep going? And he goes, you can stop there.
Yeah,
I'll get my armor. And so Odin is back in action. And then we proceed to that like hellscape realm where Beta Ray and Sif, right? Is her name Sif?
Sif.
They're getting ready for battle, and Beta Ray is kind of just like trying to get everybody in that dimension kind of hyped, and Sif is pissed. She's like, what are you doing? Like, we're wasting our time. And Beta Ray kind of like goes, this is all we have. Like, we can either sit here and rot, or we can like get some mojo going and hope that somebody finds us. And
that's what we're doing here.
And on cue, Lockjaw shows up, Throg shows up, and Jane Foster shows up, right?
Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange, that's right, Doctor Strange. Oh, and Bats shows up.
Yes.
And he gets there to say, hey, you know, what do we need to do? And they're like, we need to combine our forces, and we need to basically go head on with Blake. We just got to do it. No matter, even if we lose, we just have to do this. We got to figure out a way to take him down. Mm-hmm. And right before they're about to leave, Loki pops up. And Loki, when I read this, I was like, Nate's going to hate this. But Loki shows his face because he's got him and Strange have got a history.
I actually don't hate that. I mean, I don't like Loki, but I love that Donnie consistently at every turn in any of his books is always referencing not only his other works, but just other Marvel continuity in general.
Right, and he... excuse me.
Choked on a bug.
Jesus Christ. Let me get some water. Oh, God.
Yes. While you're choking, I will say that the panel where they all sort of show up, and I think this is the one that you said could be very
second printing cover for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Nick Klein just makes Throg such a badass.
Yeah, dude. Like, if I know Beta Ray is getting his own, you know, 5 issue. There needs to be a Throg.
I'm ready for a Throg book too.
A Nick Klein Throg book for sure. Anyway, so Strange and Loki kind of go at it, and they argue, and he's like, "Hey, let's go. You know, let's set some hell. Let's go raise some hell." And while this is all going on, Blake is chopping down the world tree and trying to get to the source of its power. And I think what he's really doing is, well, I'm on the assumption of that he's basically trying to keep Thor in the tree. But I could be wrong in that assessment. Maybe he's accessing power. That's what it is. He's trying to access some kind of power.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he's, I mean, at one point he says, like, Odin says, like, what? Where do you think all this power is going? You see the blood or the sap dripping out of the trees. Like, where do you think this is all going?
Right. So while he's taking it out, Throg shows up. He throws his hammer. We get the kick-ass splash page of them showing up, and they ensue, and they start to kick some ass. And before Blake can like really throw down, excuse me, god damn, I've got a lot going on here. Odin shows up and just stomps Blake's face into the ground.
Just grabs his head and smashes him down.
So if this book gets a third printing, this should probably be the third printing cover. That's our good boy Odin. He has showed up and he is super pissed. And that, again, he explains to Blake, like, you know, where do you think you get your power from? Where do you think it's going? And we cut back into the tree, and we basically, Thor is... he's getting hyped, right? He's trying to figure out a way to get back to Earth, or to the real reality outside of the tree. Yep. And at some point, I think he's able to like make a dent in the tree to the point where he's able to give off a command to his crows, and his crows show up in the world tree, and they're like, hey, what can we do you for? We can't really get you out of here, but what do you need? And Thor is like, I've got an idea and I need your help. He goes, you can't physically get me out of here, but you can take my soul. And at that point, when I read that, I was like, ooh, what are we going to do? Like, are we going to possess Donald Blake's body? What are we going to do? So Thor, we cut back to Blake, and, everyone's getting ready to throw hammers. And literally, right as they're about to throw, Thor shows up, knocks out, or like does an uppercut, basically. Like, it's an uppercut potion because Blake's body's like, like he's flung into the air. He loses the axe that's Thor's original axe, which is actually a Valkyrie's axe, which gets bumped off the Bifrost, which I'm wondering, I think that is deliberately shown. I think there's going to be something there. And the last panel is Thor, but Thor has now possessed the Destroyer suit. And it's got a giant rune on it, and Thor's back in the Destroyer suit. Didn't see that coming. Super, like, when I saw that, I was like, oh my god, this is my first book, and I already know what my pick of the week is going to be. It's not my pick of the week, but it was pretty damn close.
It was very close.
But like at the beginning of my reading, this was, I mean, usually it's the first book that I read is going to be my pick of the week, and then it kind of goes from there. But this genuinely almost was my pick of the week. But this issue was fantastic, and it left me wanting more. Like I didn't want it to end, and I'm really excited for part 6.
Yeah.
And I think even if you read like the profile for part 6, let me see if I'm going to pull it up really quick. Let's see, Thor. So the next one is Donald Blake standing on the Bifrost, or the bridge. And let's see, I'll put it on here. Yeah. And it reads, the final prey and the fight for Thor's life. All-Father Thor breaks out of his prison, but Donald Blake has amassed more power than King Asgard can know. One thing is certain: when the hammer comes down, only one man will remain standing. Big action, big strikes are the Donny Cates and Nick Klein special. But you've never seen them like this before. This is the issue you cannot miss. And I take those words to heart. Whatever. I think it's gonna be good. But then again, I'm a Donny Cates like fanboy.
Yes. And because you're a Donny Cates fanboy, I have to bring you back down just a little bit.
Whatever.
The two things, and they're small things for sure, because this was almost my pick of the week.
Right.
The two small things I didn't like it, and what kept this book from being my pick of the week, were one, it was too short. Literally, I counted the pages. We're at 20 pages. That's way too few pages. We're supposed to have 21 minimum. So I was very frustrated by that. And not only were there only 20 art pages in this book, but it just read really quickly, and not a lot actually happened. Yes, the art was fantastic, and we had some badass splash pages and stuff, but like not a lot happened.
Yeah, I would agree with those assessments. I read through it fairly quickly.
And as much as I am excited about Odin's involvement, as far as like he looks like a badass and stuff like that, I'm actually kind of upset about that, because that's a precedent that I really liked, was Odin being gone and being absent, and Thor being the Allfather. And I think him coming back just muddles it up, because he didn't need Odin. He found a way to get out of the tree by himself. He didn't need him, and I just it's not a big deal, but I would have preferred for that to have not happened.
I feel like Donnie does things for a reason, and I think, like you said, like, he didn't need him. All right, well, now he's here, so how are you going to get rid of him? I think we're going to learn in our June solicitations that might be the case, but I don't think Donnie just threw him in there for any old reason. Like, we've got a kind of like what we said in our Comic Haul video, like, this Prey series is 6 issues long. That's kind of long. We're kind of ready for like the next story arc. And the one thing I think I'm most interested in is like that kind of question, like, okay, well, what is Odin just going to stick around, or are we going to have, you know, a dick measuring contest, or you know, also I've got questions about the Black Winter. Like, people have asked Donnie on Twitter, is that coming back? He's like, oh, I haven't even scratched the surface on that character.
Yeah, I knew he was going to let that marinate for. We're not going to get him probably for at least 2 more arcs. If
Yeah,
not more.
you're right, but I'm just this to me, outside of Venom, obviously, is probably my favorite comic book right now in Marvel. It's just a lot of fun for me personally. I know yours is probably like Guardians or I don't know.
I don't know what my favorite ongoing is right now.
Thor,
Daredevil. No, it's Daredevil.
Daredevil. You're right, but for me, like, I like Daredevil. It's like a very close second. But for me, Thor is my favorite ongoing for Marvel right now. But anyway, that is Thor number 13. We cannot wait for the finale in part 6, which we will get next month. So, next up, Captain Marvel 27. Did you read this?
I did.
Okay, cool. So, this is the beginning of a new storyline, kind of. It definitely feels like a transition issue.
Yeah.
But it's got and some. Like, it's got and this.
Yeah.
So in the last issue, Rhodes and Carol broke up because Carol was like, I don't want to mess up your future and not have your future daughter come to life. So let me break up. And you know, you were already like, that's a silly premise, but whatever. But she did it. And so this issue kind of is the grieving period. Trying to get over Rhodey, and essentially Carol kind of puts herself in like a self-isolation. She doesn't answer anybody's phone calls. Jessica, Spider-Woman, is just like, hey, are you okay? Constantly trying to get her to talk, and she won't, to the point where she actually breaks into her apartment to make sure that she's okay. And Carol gets pissed, and she was like, I warned you. Like, if you weren't going to answer the phone, I was going to do something drastic, so I broke your window. And essentially what this is her getting over Rhodey, whether it's fighting aliens and cat snakes that shoot acid out of their butts, or
God.
or just, you know, with really pretty handsome wizard men flying them, or just fighting other, you know, galaxy threats, or if it's going on blind dates, which they end up doing. Carol goes on she goes on speed dating. That's right. Mm-hmm. She does a speed date with Spider-Woman, Monica Rambeau, Hazmat. I don't remember her real name.
Jennifer,
and Kal-El, or not Kal-El. L'Oreal, her sister. And I thought that was kind of cool when she showed up, because like her hammer, like when they go on to the date, she uses her hammer to get into like actual dress, and Hazmat again is like goo goo gaga over L'Oreal, like her outfit, and like she's just in awe of her, which I thought was kind of funny. But anyway, they go on like a speed date, or speed dating, and Carol is like meeting just douchebags, just really
just the weirdest dude.
Shitty dudes, like guys that are like, you know, CrossFit trainers, and one of them is a professional troller. That I was like, that's fucking stupid. And then the first one she goes on a date with, the guy's like, you look like a superhero like that I know. And she goes, yeah, I get that I look like Captain Marvel a lot. She's like, no, like she's kind of ugly, like you're pretty, like. And she gets kind of pissed off about that. Anyway, as the issue continues, what we find out is that Carol she's just kind of essentially, how do I describe this? She basically, I don't know how to say this. She's avoiding getting over Rhodes, essentially. She doesn't want to fight, you know, the idea of forgetting about Rhodes. She doesn't want to she's just hiding in certain things, whether it's fighting crime or going on these speed dates. Anyway, as the speed dating thing is starting to kind of wind down, or actually heating up, our snake cat acid butt aliens. That's literally okay. Look, I say that. Let's show them.
No,
that's exactly what they are. They're cats. They're like these snake cats, giant snake cats that shoot acid out of their butts. Anyway, they show back up. The wizards that were on them are pissed. You're like, you don't fuck with us, and so she turns it back into Captain Marvel. She fights the cats again. She saves everybody at the speed dating thing. And then as they're ending, Jessica and Carol basically kind of make up, and in a roundabout way, Spider-Woman is just trying to get Carol to just get back out there and like live life, and that's how you're gonna move on, not by sulking. And so that ends, and she ends up going to a bar afterwards, and so she goes to a bar in Hell's Kitchen, and this is where the issue gets a little interesting. Mm-hmm. So she's in the bar, she's drinking, and who shows up but Stephen Strange?
I feel like we've seen him before.
Oh yeah, definitely.
This week.
And so I think he just shows up out of the blue. I don't think he's there like on purpose.
Well, he's not there looking for her. He said he shows up. He went looking for a bar where no one knew who he was.
Right, because all the cosmic bars and like other realm bars, they know who he is, and he can't really like just relax.
Right.
So he bumps into Carol, and so they kind of like start talking, and they realize that they know each other, but they don't know each other, and the evening gets away from them, and let's say a couple drinks in, one thing leads to another, and bada bing, bada boom.
These are books for kids. What are we doing here?
Doctor Strange and Carol Danvers, a.k.a. Captain Marvel, hook up, and Carol wakes up in Strange's house.
In the Sanctum Sanctorum. My
butt
God.
Ass naked. And, apparently they did it. They didn't do it once. They made the mistake 3 times. And so there's this real awkward phase of like, well, what do we do now? And they do it a 4th time. And that's how the issue ends. What's interesting about this is the next issue shows Carol like in her original outfit, but she's wielding sorcery, the same kind of spells.
She's doing the Doctor Strange weird hands and
one, that kind of thing. So I think we're getting another power set here. I don't know.
I did the shocker when I did that too.
Yeah, you did. Either way, that's how we're getting ready for a new story arc. I do think it's going to deal with Avi though, because she's pissed that she lost him, and he's in her time. What am I trying to say?
Timeline.
I want to say like time reference. That's so weird. So I think this is his only, we know that Avi is a magical being because his mother is the enchantress. So she kind of needs a power upgrade there. And I'm all for it. I'm not one of these traditionalists that's like, no, it's not Captain Marvel. No, I think it's cool. Her having magical powers in the next issue, I think is going to be really cool. Also, I think, this Doctor Strange thing, like, it's about to get a little awkward. Like, is Rhodey going to show up and be like, yo, so
what's going on here?
Exactly, but we'll see what happens. Thompson is killing it on this book. What I really like is Thompson is sprinkling in little things from Deadpool in this book. When she's in her apartment at the beginning of the issue and she changes her clothes she's wearing a sweatshirt that has the shark pet that Deadpool has, which I thought was kind of cool.
What's his name?
I forget. But he's popped up in some other books.
Tommy or something like that.
Yeah, he's popped up in some other books that Thompson's either associated with or she did like, a blurb in a book, and he's always in there. So like that's her little like Jeff, yeah. That's her little call sign, which I think is really cool. But overall, I really enjoyed this issue. I was really worried that this was going to be, I've read a couple Captain Marvels within this run that are kind of like Thompson. It just feels like she's kind of taking a break. Like, let's just do this little filler really quick so I can work on something else. And this one did not feel like that at all. Like, this is definitely a continuation.
Yeah, yeah. It definitely felt like um, it to me it felt like an actual one-off, not part of an arc sort of story that you want because we just finished a large arc that had a lot of ramifications. It seems like we're going to be going into a bigger one. You need to kind of tie everything together. And I think even having L'Oreal come in to, talking about the arc 2 times before, just kind of has it all laid out together. I like that.
We need more L'Oreal. I think that character needs to be developed more. I mean, I know she's up, being with the Emperor, the new Emperor, and Wiccan, but I want more of that character in this book.
I think the female writers of Marvel are showing that they like her as a character as well. Teenie Howard made her a fairly prominent first part of that Hulkling and Wiccan one shot.
Yep. Yeah.
So,
and she had a lot of I think there was a lot of character development in that book, and she gets that in this one too. Like she cracks jokes, and she's trying to be more of a sister than just an estranged relative.
Right.
So either way, Captain America 27, freaking dig it. Next up, all right. Speaking of Rhodey, we got Iron Man number 7, pick of the week. Yeah.
Pick of the week. Yeah.
Your pick of the week. I'm not gonna do the gong because my sounds are all jacked off. So
your sounds are jacked off.
They're broken.
That's what you just said.
Did I say jacked off? Oops. I was trying to say they're not working, and I have them turned off.
Jacked off. Okay, buddy.
Okay. Anyway, this is Nate's pick of the week.
You cut that part out of YouTube.
Nah, we're gonna leave it in. I misspoke.
Yeah. So. We basically pick up with the gang still chasing Korvac out in space, and Rhodey and Tony are sort of doing some tune-ups to their suit. We get a nice little subtle reminder that Tony's neck is still broken and being held together by the suit, which is absolutely ridiculous. And we've still got all of our absolutely ridiculous side characters still hanging out on the ship as well. We got Scarlet Spider, Frogman, Misty Knight, Gargoyle. And they have a little bit of a philosophic conversation, which I want to get back to at the end of the book. But basically, this book is a lot of exposition, and not a ton of bang bang, fight 'em up, sort of fighting scenes.
Let me interject real quick.
Please.
That being said, I think it's definitely necessary deposition for sure. Like, this was not boring.
No, just the opposite. And as a matter of fact, I think that the deposition is why this is the deposition is the reason why this is my pick of the week.
Right. Yeah.
So I just, just to sum it all up really quickly, we're basically getting an insight into everybody that's involved in this book. We get some talking between these minor characters, and then we get a few moments between Hellcat and Tony, and then finally Tony suggests to Hellcat that maybe if Korvac can tap into your mind and kind of see what's going on and show you things, why can't you do that in reverse and try to tap into his mind? And that's exactly what she does, and it works out well. And she's able to bring Tony along as well. So Tony, Hellcat, and Korvac essentially have this philosophical conversation about why is Korvac doing this? Why are you trying to create this utopia? Tony's like, legitimately, I'm not trying to fuck with you. Like, just
tell me what's going on. Yeah,
explain it to me legitimately. And Korvac's kind of taken aback. Like, he's like, you seriously want to, you actually want to know? And Tony's like, yeah, I do. And so basically what he describes is what he feels, what Korvac feels is a utopia, and it's really not. It's really not. It's everything is so equal and so plain and so the same. What is it that they keep calling it? The aggregate. He keeps saying, you're not going to have your own feelings anymore. You're going to be part of the aggregate, the sum of all parts, and we really see how Korvac just doesn't think like a human. That the fact that he thinks that is a utopia is, just not what it's going to be.
Well, when he talks about like what everyone turns into, because he says like everyone becomes one, and then he's like, well, Tony goes like, I don't understand, like, what do you mean? And he shows them this landscape where everyone is turned into these like mindless, immobile, or I don't know if they're immobile, but like crystal figures.
Yeah, they're not immobile, but they almost kind of look like let me see if I can find that page, like four-legged beasts. Like I thought of like a crystal wolf or something.
Yeah.
You can kind of see that on there, but they're really hard to. It was hard for me to tell at first that they were individual beings. I thought they were just piles of crystals, or something.
Right? Which
I think is
worse.
the point.
Yeah.
And then Tony obviously rebukes Korvac and tells him that like this is not a utopia. Like no emotion, no feeling, no individualism is not utopia. It's the opposite of utopia. And of course that triggers Korvac, and he says, you know what, fuck it, we're not going to deal with these guys anymore. Turn the ship around, we're going to start shooting them. And right about that time, Tony gets just completely teleported off of his ship. And ends up on a planet that his suit can't identify whatsoever. And comes across a team of aliens. I don't know if we're supposed to know who these guys are. I don't recognize any of them in the slightest bit.
I felt like the one that talks, like the robot-looking dude, he talks in like Old English.
Oh, he's supposed to talk like a Canadian.
Okay, there you go.
That's why Tony goes, "Are you
Canadian?"
Canadian?
Yeah.
So that felt a little rushed, but it's because the strength of this book isn't the I would say hardcore progression of the story. We didn't get a bunch of punching. We didn't really get any action whatsoever. But I absolutely love what Christopher Cantwell has done for 7 issues now. And it's, go beyond just the typical comic book. We're not just fighting. We're not just having like, the conversation with Korvac is really interesting. And,
no, it's interesting, but I thought for me, like, and I think you were alluded to this you were going to touch on the end of this, is the conversation that our Z team really is having at the back of the spaceship.
Yeah.
Because they really, if anything, they carry the philosophical issue of this book.
They for a minute there, they tackle a topic which I think creates such a conundrum black hole sort of situation in comic books. The Frogman basically says like, okay, what are we, like god fighters? And Misty Knight says, can someone even tell me what God means in this universe? Like, are we talking about Jehovah, Yahweh, Allah, Buddha, Thanos?
Yeah, when I saw that, I was like, that's hilarious.
But she's like, seriously, like, is God an android, a celestial, a glove with a bunch of gems in it? Like, what is, there's a lot of these deep philosophical things that people think about in real life today that on a context with superheroes, like what does any of this stuff mean,
Right.
And Gargoyle gives like a really poignant answer, and he basically says like God is balance. And, balance is a delicate thing. It's always going back and forth. One side is always gaining more power than the other. And, it's our job to consistently rebalance. It's our job to always make sure that the universe is in harmony.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought it fit the story really well. It didn't feel like an awkward conversation. And I think Christopher Cantwell is doing a really good job of making, like, who the hell is Gargoyle? Like, what is he from? What does he do? Like, I don't fucking know. But like, he just had one of the best lines that I've read in a comic book in 2021. And I think the fact that Christopher Cantwell is having, getting you to care about these characters and they're having good conversations. I don't know. I really enjoy it.
The other conversation I like that happens in that little, like, between Gargoyle and all of them is the one where, when you said, like, seriously, is God an android, a celestial, or a gem? And then Frogman goes, are you talking about a god or the god? And she goes, is there a difference or a point? And Scarlet goes, it's all cells and molecules and atoms. You are the sum total of muscular reflexes holding your body together that ends up thinking it's something, which is to say someone. And Misty goes, so the idea of me is like a side effect of being alive. And Scarlet goes, exactly, hard science, that is. And Frogman, this joke is so good. Frog goes, hear that? The test tube clone says it's just science. And Scarlet's like,
yeah, look, man,
bro, come on. Like, you can't decide how your cards are dealt. No, I agree with you. I think this book had, very little action, if any, but the conversations in the book were very deep and very good. And I never read it and was like, this is boring. Like, it was,
no, not
it was good.
Bit. Well, and I think if you're, I'm sure we've said this at some point in 7 issues, but if you're just only looking for Bang Bang Pow, Christopher Cantwell's Iron Man probably isn't for you.
No.
But
I mean, it has its moments, but that's not the main directive of this book.
It's not. Also, I like this the inclusion of Hellcat here too. I'm not familiar with her as a character.
Yeah.
Before this run, but
she's getting her ass kicked in the series. Like she's gonna need some serious help after this book. Lou, it is an Alex Ross cover. Mm-hmm. Alex Ross is currently doing Iron Man, Immortal Hulk, Captain America, and then he has a Marvel series, and then he has The Marvels, which is coming out next month, I believe. So he's doing a bunch of covers for Marvel. You can't go wrong with an Alex Ross cover. You just can't. Even if the book's terrible, you can't.
Issue 1, Lou, I don't know if you've seen it or not, but look up issue 1. It shows the redesign that Alex Ross did for Iron Man's suit.
Yeah, it's really good.
It is amazing. Anyway, that's my pick of the week. As someone who's reading history is much more prose based than comics. I've read books, novels far longer than I have read comics. I love it when someone gets all philosophical and
well, and does it the right way. They're not. It's not like.
Well, I feel like right. It's not preachy. It's not like Christopher Cantwell is trying to make some type of religious.
No.
Preaching to you or something. It's just it's good conversation that
it's like something you'd overhear at like a Starbucks. Like that's how it feels, and that's not a bad thing. All right.
Definitely not.
Next up, we've got Amazing Spider-Man, our first King in Black tie-in for the show. I think we only have 2. This will be nice and short and sweet, but I will say that this Spider-Man story has more heart and more like real Peter Parker identity than the current Amazing Spider-Man run by Nick Spencer. And I mean that. I mean every bit of that. I don't mean that in a spite. I'm just saying, like, when I read this book, this is Spider-Man. This sounds like Peter Parker. He doesn't sound like Peter Parker in Spencer's run. He sounds like a completely different character. And in this book, this feels like Spider-Man. Lou, yeah. The Spider-Man story was so much better than Spidey on the stage. Yeah, Lou, I totally agree. Like, this was a Spider-Man story, and so we get kind of I don't want to say back to the basics, but Spidey or Peter is still kind of dealing with some pretty heavy feelings. He feels responsible, and I think he kind of is. He brought the symbiote to Earth, so it's kind of his. It's kind of is his fault that it's there, and why Venom exists, and he's not the reason why Null exists, but he is the reason why it's there on Earth. And so this is kind of him getting through that idea that he may be responsible for this. And the thing that I didn't expect I'd like in this book, it's not going to make me want to pick up the book, but Reptile, I think his name is, he's in this book, and he kind of kicks Peter back into gear and like reminds him of who he is. So Spidey's learning from a younger, Avenger, essentially young Avenger. No, this was a one shot, Lou. He basically finds out again like remembers who he is, remembers the principles he stands up for, and so in this book it's not consequential to the King in Black storyline. I was kind of hoping we'd get a little bit more tie into the actual book, but that's okay. It's not that, but it's basically Spidey remembering what values he fights for, and Reptile Boy kind of reminds him of that. And I know nothing about Reptile. But he shines in this book, and then there's a 3 or 4 page mini story in the back of like the perspective from Reptile, and realizing like hero work is hard. It's a nonstop grind. You're not. It's not just like save one person and go. Like when these kinds of events happen, like you have to continue. Even if you're just dead inside, you have to keep going. Lou, I read it and enjoyed it. Just wasn't sure if this was a new run. I wish it was a new run, because God, Nick Spencer's Spidey is just so bad.
Jed McKay's been doing good stuff too. I ran out of time this week. Usually Thursday's actually my day that I get to crunch down if I have a couple days. So I missed an extra day. So
well, you can read it tomorrow. It's a good book. It's not like jaw dropping, but it reminds you of what Spidey can be, because Nick Spencer's run is just, and I hate saying this, we say this every time, like, I am not one to shit on somebody's work, but it's time to get a new writer on Amazing Spider-Man. Like, Spencer needs to like take a break and be assigned something else, and I'm sure he'll do great on it, but like this is just so much better. And I said the same thing about Nonstop Spider-Man. Like, I enjoyed that book too, and it makes me jealous that neither one of those stories are the actual story for Amazing Spider-Man.
You're telling me you're not excited that you get 4 Nick Spencer issues of Spider-Man in June?
You see me looking at the camera right now?
Oops. Sorry.
Anyway, I enjoyed this. It's not my favorite King in Black tie-in, but it was good. I mean, it wasn't what I was expecting, but it definitely was a good book. So I'm glad I picked it up. I'm glad I have it in my collection, and just fingers crossed that, again, I hate poo-pooing on it, but let's just hold on, let me fix my camera. There we go. Let's just get a new writer on this. If anything, this is just telling me we need a new writer on Amazing Spider-Man, and let it be Johnny Cates. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
All right, our other King in Black tie-in book is Sword number 4. We actually get some actual King in Black material in this book, whereas issue 3, it was like the last page.
Yeah.
I know you weren't so hot on this book. I really liked it.
I was. I really needed a second read. And did you happen to watch the Comic Book Herald video?
I haven't, and that's because usually I would watch it today. I would watch.
Yeah.
Anyone that's watching right now, usually our show is on Friday, not Thursday, but we've got some time scheduling issues going on this week, so we're moving it just for this week today, Thursday. So usually I watch Comic Book Herald's videos on the Xbooks just so I can get a little bit more insight, but I did not.
Well, I would say that the one thing that he really points out that's not really that insightful, but just as interesting, is the first, this is the third part of Sword that is a King in Black tie-in, but this is the first one that's really felt like it's heavy King in Black. The other two didn't really, and I think that that was for the benefit of Sword itself. Mm-hmm. And so I think the first time when I read this, I was expecting that. I was expecting a Sword book that happened to slightly allude to King in Black. Mm-hmm. And when it was just boom, this is King in Black, I was like bogged down a little bit.
Right.
Because I didn't go in with the right mind frame. I sat down and read it again, and I was like, oh shit, well, this is pretty intense.
It is, man.
So
it starts off with, and I don't know the name of the character. I'm actually going to have to go to the key or the legend and see who that is. So Frenzy.
Frenzy,
It kicks off with Frenzy like in a void, trying to fight her way back to reality. So that's how the issue starts, and then we get kind of Null possessing Cable and utilizing Cable's powers and doing some work on the mutants. Like, 3 pages in, the nullified Cable consumes Cortez and Sunfire or Sunspot, or I don't know what his name is. Sunspot, right?
Wait, what?
Who's Sunspot? Sunspot?
You're making me confused now.
What do you mean?
No, I'm saying I know who you're talking about. Sunfire.
So when Manifold shows up, Cable or Null Cable is giving a speech about what he's gonna do and how he's pissed that the island of Krakoa tried to make an artificial sun to keep me away, and that's not gonna keep me away. And he ends up killing Cortez. I think his name is Cortez, and Sunfire, and he literally wraps them up in symbiote goo and then strips their flesh off, and it's just their skeletons. It's actually pretty wicked. And so Manifold is trying to figure out how he's going to combat nullified Cable. The other half of this book is Tech Boy, I think that's his name, trying to say what? WizKid, that's it is. WizKid Tech Boy.
What's up, Tech Boy?
WizKid is trying to figure out, or he figures out that how the Krakoan gates actually work on a molecular and technical level, which is his thing. And he's talking about how it's basically like a source code and how it communicates, blah blah blah. And Brand, in the last issue, was trying to get the 5 evacuated off of Krakoa because they're a very important asset. And the way Brand's mind works is a little less Krakoa first base and more just overall Earth and humanity based. And so she was essentially devising a plan to get them off of the planet and get them as far away from Null. And it kind of had a little bit of a hiccup because she didn't really calculate the fact that Null has been all over the universe and that a lot of the Marvel universe has been completely destroyed by Null. And so her and Rachel Summers kind of have it out. Is it Rachel Summers? It's one of the Summers. Hope Summers. They kind of have an argument telepathically about, what are you thinking? What's your why would you do this? And so they argue, and basically they come to the point that Brand's plan to get them off the planet was a little flawed. She really didn't think it through because Null has been all over the universe, so there's symbiote dragons and goo everywhere, and so there's no real point in leaving the Earth. That being said, WizKid shows up, comes through the gate. He confiscates or takes control over Manilo's tank and turns it into a mech, which I thought was really kick-ass.
Yeah, that was.
And he starts shooting up the island, getting the goo off. Then we cut back to Manifold, and Manifold is having a freaking awesome fight, I really think, against Cable. He's folding space and teleport. Well, he's not really teleporting. He makes that point very clear that he's not teleporting. He's on a whole different level of universal cosmic power.
Right.
And so at one point he tries to fold space and time to bring part of the sun to Krakoa to burn off Null off of Cable. And I was like, oh shit. And Null was like, yeah, right. Whatever, dude. And he actually teleports. So they have this big, huge battle. And then before the battle ends, Manifold and Frenzy are able to connect, and Frenzy shows up, and she's able to kind of sneak attack Null Cable, and she rips Cable's arm off, his robotic arm, and they're able to. I think Manifold again uses the sun attack and is able to. He explains how he's able to fold space and time, and he does like a Kamehameha, and he's like, "Acha, the sun!" And Cable gets his shit rocked, and
I'm surprised he lives through it.
Yeah, it wouldn't matter. You get resurrected anyway.
Well, yes, but I'm just saying, I mean, I bet he would have rather have that happened. Now he's laying on the ground. He just got hit by his son, and his arm got ripped off.
True. So our mutants basically banish Null off of Krakoa, and everyone's kind of getting back up. Cable is having issues again. He's like, well, why am I such a failure? And he's like, look, Magneto goes, listen, I forget who he says, but someone, other entities have had a problem or an issue with this thing. Like, this is not a failure. You literally were fighting off a cosmic god.
Yep.
And essentially everyone's getting back up, and now we see Magneto starting to... some ulterior motives have started to creep in. The Magneto of old seems to be kind of creeping up a little bit. And he wants Sunfire and Cortez to be put in front of the line of being resurrected, and more specifically, he wants Cortez. And I think he's getting ready to say that we need to strengthen our defenses and we need to strengthen our own powers. And I think he's trying to figure out a way to manifest Cortez's amplifying powers to the point where they don't need Cortez anymore. I think that's where we're going.
Yeah, there's some history between them two that I'm unfamiliar with, about them doing some weird shady shit.
Yeah, what it was Magneto was basically using Cortez as a drug to keep himself like as powerful as possible.
Extra powered up, that's right.
Yeah. And so we get a data page we get two data pages. The first one is a direct email, or no, Magneto wants to have a council meeting, basically like we need to reassess our defense strategy, and I think I figured it out. And then Charles writes a note on the email kind of going like, hey, you've kind of been down this road before. It's kind of a bad idea, but hey, what do I know?
Well, he says specifically too, he's like that he wants to talk about the second law. And the second law is kill no human. So he's like, I think we need, and he says, with the purposes of discussing the second law of mutantdom and potential amendments. So he's thinking that maybe this kill no man, kill no human thing needs to end. That they're going to have to change that in some capacity.
Uh-oh. Well, X-Force is already doing that shit. What are we talking about?
Well, yes, but that's been part of it the whole time, is that X-Force can do it, but no one else can.
Right.
I mean, literally.
Anyway, the other data page. Now, this is where it gets confusing, and I'm lost. I don't know if Comic Book Herald talked about this. So you might have to give me insight.
He does not. Well,
so there's.
Very quick.
Go ahead. No, you go for it.
No. I was just going to say the only thing that he talks about is Snark War. That's it.
Snark War. So what is that?
Remember Snark War they've talked about it in the previous issue. Manifold goes to that lizard guy, and they're having that war between the siblings, and they're talking about how they wanted to get them involved. They've also mentioned Snark War a couple of times in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Gotcha.
I believe it's issue 6 where they go to the Galactic panel, and they briefly talk about Snark War there too. I think that's going to be maybe not a full-size event, but I think that might be an Al Ewing crossover between Sword and Guardians.
You're so giddy. Anyway,
that would be so dope.
That would be cool. I would dig that. Overall, I enjoyed this issue. I really liked the Manifold Cable back and forth. And again, I know you're not big on Manifold, but I think he just...
No, I like him.
He fucking slayed in this book, man. Like, he just looks so badass in this book.
There's so much potential for his power set. I think that I'm looking forward to him continuing to be a main character, because I want to see what Al Ewing can come up with on what to do with his powers.
Yeah, I agree. All right, next up, Marvel number 6. So this is another Lou. If you're still here, this is the other book that he's doing covers for, and he's actually writing a story in this book. So this is the wrap-up issue for Marvel. Basically, these issues consist of stories and other authors that just want to tell, really cool classic Marvel stories, and some more original stories. But also, they're being interpreted as dreams that Nightmare and Doctor Strange are kind of traveling through, and Strange is stuck in them. So the first, so essentially, the book opens with Nightmare. Has been, he's consumed all of the dream state of every being within the Marvel universe. So we're talking anyone from the lowly as Ant-Man to a Celestial to the what's that one guy that we talked about that one time with the 3 heads and the cloth over his head? That's kind of
the Living Tribunal.
Yeah, the Living Tribunal. Like, he's consumed Watchers. Like, it's insane. So he's like all powerful. And Strange has, I think he thinks he's figured out how to get out of it. So that's where the book opens, and then we go immediately into a dream, which is a Nick Fury story, and it is so good. And it's drawn, it's just good. Like the way it looks is classic, kind of classic Marvel. The colors are really crazy, and it's kind of a spy story. But essentially, Fury he knows there's something up. One of the Hydra agents from classic Marvel Comics is up to something, and he's trying to figure it out. So he kind of goes across the scape of trying to figure out what the guy's up to. Essentially, the president is like, he's free to go, and he's going to be my advisor, and Fury's kind of like, that doesn't make sense. And so he goes on this like espionage mission, and it takes him to see MODOK, and he goes underwater and fights Hydra agents, and then he goes to space and he fights I don't even know what he fights. He fights some kind of like robot thing, and it gets really trippy. I mean, the colors are just wicked in this book. And then he ends up finding out that Hydra basically body snatched the president and put a robot in charge of the U.S. And so he figures it out. He blows the robot's head off, brings the new president, or the original president, back in, and he's like, I saved the day. And so he goes on vacation with his girlfriend or wife, and then he realizes that the wife is a robot, and she gets her head blown off, and the new wife, the original wife, is there, and so they have a happy ending. Yeah, good book. The second story, which I think Nate would, I don't know, did you read this at all? Dude. This second story is a black and white Silver Surfer story, and it's Surfer trying to get his memory back, essentially. And he's flying through space. He's being directed towards a planet that has little to no life on it. And when he gets there, he realizes, like, he's like, I've been there before. And you look at the scape, and it's actually Earth, but Earth has been completely decimated. It's abandoned. Skyscrapers are falling, and there's jungle growing, and he's met by a like almost Savage Land version of Human Torch. And so him and Human Torch fight, and Human's like, hey, Surfer's like, I know you for some reason. And Human Torch is like, I know you, and I know why you're here. Get the fuck out of here. Like, don't bring this mess here. And so they go at it, and he realize, like, in their fight, Surfer realizes who he is. He realizes what he's lost, what he's sacrificed. And so he, like, hits Human Torch with a cosmic blast. He falls, and Johnny Blaze has got like stitches all over his face. His hair's grown out. He just looks a complete mess, and he's basically like the last human on Earth. And and Surfer's like, why are you doing this? Like, clearly the Earth is, it's not what it is. It needs to go. Like, why would you not just let Galactus consume it? And he's like, because this is my home, and it's just not within me to let that happen.
Yeah.
And so what's cool is after this conversation, they're talking, and you see Galactus showing up in the sun, like he's getting ready to do his thing. And when this happens, like Human Torch like goes on fire, and he goes, Surfer, I'll see you on the other side. And he goes and dies. And that's kind of how the story ends. Like, Surfer's just like, well, and he's in it. He's like, I can't forget. And then when Human Torch dies, his memory gets wiped. And the assumption is the Earth gets destroyed. So then the issue cuts back to Strange. Strange has figured out that he can harness the power of dreams. He breaks out of the dreamscape, and shit gets crazy. Like, just super colorful. Strange is able to just defeat Nightmare, and basically what he says is, the reason why I'm able to defeat you is because you're purposing these dreams for your own ambitions, but what you don't realize is these dreams aren't for you, and in dreams you can do anything. What? And he saves the day. But it's super colorful, and like the color palette on it is great. The illustrations are great. Overall, this is probably my most favorite issue of the 6 of the Marvel series. And I would even say that you don't have to have necessarily have read the first 5 issues to not read this. You could read this issue by itself, and it would stand. It gives itself enough room where if you just pick this up, you'd be satisfied and not having to read the other 5. And Lou, the Silver Surfer ratio, I almost bought it today.
He had it in his hand for like 10 minutes.
I had a lot of things in my hand for 10 minutes at the store.
True. That's true.
Ended up walking away with like $600 worth of slabs, but I digress. Anyway, that's Marvel. I recommend it. I highly recommend it. This issue alone is worth it. So,
interesting.
You should probably go get it, Nate. Anyway, Spider-Woman number 10. This one will be a quick one too. So, Jessica has regained her power. She's no longer poisoned, and she finds out that Octavia has been cloning herself to make a daughter that is the perfect incarnation of Octavia, and she's probably killed 7 versions of her daughter, because the daughter is just too much to handle. She can't be a mom basically. And what's crazy is, when we first found out that her daughter was a clone, we thought that clone started as a baby and then just grew up into a teenager, and then she was going to kill the teenager. No, she had a baby, she didn't like it, she threw it in lava. She had a toddler, she didn't like it, she threw it in lava. She had a 12-year-old, was a brat, she threw it in lava. And so now she's got a 21-year-old daughter who she shocked to death, and now she's throwing her in lava because it's not the perfect version of her. And she's going to create a perfect version of herself, and she's going to create an army. And that's when Jessica's like, nope, no you're not. And so they fight at it. And I think the best line in this book is, don't you think the reason why your clones are so fucked up is because they're made from you? And she throws that at Octavia. Yeah. And that was pretty cool. So they end up fighting. Jessica's actually able to revive the High Evolutionary. And at one point when they're fighting, I think the Evolutionary gets some kind of reptile DNA, and it gets injected or thrown onto Octavia, and the fight ends with her turning into a humanoid dinosaur, a mindless humanoid dinosaur. And he ends up putting a mind control collar on her, and so that's his pet. And High Evolutionary basically says you saved my life, what do you need? And she goes, well, is the poison that was in me, is it gone? He goes, yes. And he goes, now can we take this cure and take it to my brother's daughter who's also dying of the disease? And he's like, yes. And so that the issue basically ends that way with her. It wraps up this story arc of her being overpowered, and now she's back to normal. And she originally ditches this costume, but at the end of the issue, she picks it back up nah, I might give it another chance. I was not expecting to like this story, Spider-Woman in general. I picked it up really just to get the first number 1, because I think the 1 in 25 was really cool looking. It was a collage of different Spider-Woman covers. Mm-hmm. But I've really enjoyed it. I mean, I know you don't like the cover, but the story itself is really, really good. I did not expect this story. So
yeah, I just need to pick up a trade or two and get caught up.
Yeah,
I haven't read any of them.
I mean, I will tell you, it's a little confusing, if you don't know anything about Spider-Woman or Jessica, but they kind of, as the story goes along, you get more and more of that. So it's not spoon-fed to you at the beginning. It's kind of trickled in as you read the arc. So I'm continuing to keep this on my pull list. We'll see where it goes, and if it's as good as this story arc, then it'll stay on my pull list.
Nice.
All right, X-Force number 18. We did not get. I don't think we got our main artist on this book, if I'm not mistaken.
No, we don't.
That was a little bit of a drawback for me. I'll say that right now. The art was just a little off.
It just wasn't as good as it could have been.
Yeah, but the story is really.
I mean, that's a mean thing to say. But
Well, the story was really. No, the art was fine. The art was fine. It just wasn't the same artist, so it felt just a little off.
yeah,
But this story is fucking crazy. Basically, what's happened is Krakoa and the X-Force have lost count of how many times Kid Omega has died, to the point where they just don't care anymore, and they don't go through the protocols of because when a mutant dies, they send out X-Force or not X-Force,
X Factor.
X Factor, and they go make sure like this person is dead, this mutant is dead. Here's the body. Okay, resurrection, because you don't want two of the same mutant in the same place. You know that continuity errors, like quite literally.
Yeah.
And so what we find out in this book is that he's died so many times that they're like, just bring him back, he's fine. Like, he died. And I think that's the one thing I love about this run is Percy has made it a point to kill this dude in every book, that even as a reader you're like, everything's fine.
Yep, you let your guard down about it for sure.
Yeah, and it's not. So Zeno got a hold of one of his bodies via Colossus's brother, and they did some experiments on it, just like Domino. And so we have this like demon hellscape version of Kid Omega, like tapping into the greatest fears and nightmares of the Krakoan mutants and humans, and some fucked up shit. And this issue also deals with a lot of like, I think some more mental health issues, like in what's her name, the Sage, man, like that was deep when you find out that she's got like essentially a drinking problem. This issue was just deep, and the artwork had its moments. There were some times where it was kind of off, but then there were like whenever we saw a nightmare version of a mutant, that shit was crazy. That was really good.
Right. Yeah, I think this was like one of the strongest panels right here. There at the end. A lot of these nightmare scapes that Brown does, I really enjoyed. I mean, it's not Joshua Cassara stuff, but I enjoyed it. I actually think if anyone deserves an extra piece of credit on this book, it is Guru EFX, of course, the standard colorist for this book.
Oh my god, it's amazing.
That's why you keep some of the continuity. While the lines feel different, you still have Guru EFX doing the colors, and this really felt like a Kid Omega book. Like we're constantly in his color, like constantly in his realm.
Yeah. Maddie, no, Kid Omega is not related to Omega Red. But thank you for being here. We appreciate you being on the show. You are the color to our coloring book. Overall, I liked this book, and I think we know where we're going. So Kid Omega is a psychic, and he's lost control. And who else could fix this besides Charles? And that's going to be Jean Grey. And the next cover for the next issue it's pretty sick. It's basically her it's insane. Like I actually want to pull it up just to show. Yeah, it's gonna be the next issue. I think is gonna be really crazy. So let's pull it up here.
It's basically her trying to deal with
all the demons
and nightmares of what's going on.
That's probably, if we do a cover of the week, that's probably going to be my cover of the week. It's just, that is insane. So Jean Grey is going to have to fix all the problems that happened in this issue. But overall, this was a good issue. And it almost, I don't want to say, I shouldn't say this, but because the artist was different, and I just wasn't used to it, that is the only reason why it wasn't my pick of the week. I thought everything else was fairly strong. I thought the story was strong. I thought the character development was strong. Like I said, like tackling mental health issues and even alcoholism in this issue was pretty fucking heavy. But the art for me was just the only thing that was just a little like, well, I wasn't used to it, so it just wasn't a bad thing. It just wasn't that's the reason why it wasn't my pick of the week. But it was a really good issue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm excited to see where we're going more with Xeno.
Yeah, I think Zeno is going to be playing a huge role, obviously, in this book, and I think they've popped up in other parts of other books. Wolverine, and they're all over the place. And we'll talk about what's coming up in our X-Men universe in our June solicitation video, which will be out later next week.
Tons of the new event going on.
Oh yeah. All right. Next up, we've got Radiant Black #2. I know we both have differing opinions on this book. I'm going to let you go first, and then I will sprinkle in my.
So, so we basically
Radiant Black issue #2, by the way. Sorry.
Yes, Radiant Black issue 2. Hold on a second. A little too dark there. Basically, we join our main character at the beginning of the story, kind of having a conversation with his dad. It was kind of awkward. Basically talking about his dad's like, okay, you're home now, but like, what are you gonna do? Like, are you gonna work? Are you going to try to write? Like, what's going on? And we get this. To me, it felt. I'm going to say this a lot, so I'll just try to say it once now. One of the reasons why I had a problem with this book is every scene felt too long. It just felt like it dragged to me. So the scene with him and his dad getting into an argument felt like it dragged to me. At one point, the two officers from the first issue show up and start kind of interrogating him about like his powers and if he's with the other guy. This is how our main character was. Actually, I think his name's Nathan, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
That's how he figures out that there's another person that has a suit or a black hole, whatever it is. But I don't know. I don't know that I can give this book a lot of justice in a review because I just didn't really like it.
Well, I'll say this: like, what I can take from what you said, the part that I can agree with is, I think the interaction with the police officers and even his best friend. So from like best friend to officers and right before the action, that is probably the weakest part of this book because it just didn't feel like it was part of the book. It just didn't. It just felt rushed. Now, the conversation with his dad at the beginning and the end, I really enjoyed that because I feel like I can relate to that because when I got out of college, like it pretty much is like verbatim how my conversation with my dad was. Is like, okay, you're done with college. You gonna go make some money? Like, what are you gonna go do?
No.
And so that to me, I felt was very relatable. And then our 3 to 4 pages of action, I really did like. I thought, Nathan's, he doesn't know what he's doing. He's not a superhero, right? And so the way he approaches the red black hole suit is so naive, and like he doesn't realize what he's saying, so he gets his ass kicked because the guy's like, "Really? You're gonna talk about the cops in front of me while I'm stealing money from a bank? Eat a car." I thought that was really cool, and Nathan's not only learning how to be a superhero in the way you talk, but he's also learning how his powers work. He's learning how remembering from the last issue how he can stop things and move them out and stuff like that. And then I think the really cool thing is when he's able to repel the red suit guy. We don't know what to call him. I liked the fact that he gets the money that the dude stole and he looks at it for a second like, this could solve all my problems, and no one would ever know that I got this money. And then he's like, no. And so he ends up like returning the cash. And so he does the superhero thing. The other thing that I liked is that he, when he was in LA, he was an Uber driver. And so he had to do the same thing in this book where he's trying to make money, but he's making like pennies. But he uses it to his advantage in learning where this other red suit guy is. He kind of like gets leads by doing this. But in doing so, you kind of see like what an Uber driver has to deal with. And I think this is like not like very small compared to what real Uber drivers deal with. But you get like,
it's funny you say that. It Lou says I drove rideshare for a while. The guy puking in the back was too real.
Oh shit. Yeah, so people puking in your car, dogs taking a shit, like that seems like that's a real thing. So I personally enjoyed this issue way more than the first issue. Because I felt like the first issue was just so rushed, and like I'll say this right now, I don't like his best friend. I don't
either. Yeah.
I just go away. Like I'd rather just stick with Nathan and his family. And him trying to figure out how to navigate that dynamic while becoming a superhero. But the friend to me is just I see his speech bubbles and I'm like, I don't care. And then the cops just felt forced in this book.
The cops felt so awkward to me. But so I said from last week or last time we reviewed issue 1, I said I was going to give this its first arc, its first 5 or 6 issues, and I'm going to
reassess.
I was hoping that we'd get a little bit more from the Red villain, some type of hint at his motive or something, because that's what seemed like could be the way that we're going here, is like a human character study almost of like what happens when a random person gets powers and gets this ability to change their fortune. Will that can your character stand up to that? And we get a good answer to that for Nathan in this first issue, or in the second issue, is you see the money, and I actually thought he was going to take the money. That panel where it shows him thinking about it and then his eyes cast down. Let's see if I can get that on there. Like he looks like shameful, like he's embarrassed of himself, and I thought, oh shit, he's gonna take the money. Then you turn the page and he's throwing the bags back down. It's like, okay, like this guy still has his morals, his morality. And so I was hoping we'd get a little bit more insight into the red suit guy, but maybe that's next issue.
I don't think it's coming. It wasn't a stellar issue. I enjoyed it better than issue 1. Take the friend out, figure out the cops, and I think you're in the right direction. But other than that, I thought the book was strong in that other regard.
Yeah.
So
see where it goes from here.
All right, now we've got Origins number 5 of 6. We're getting more and more of the puzzle, and so last we left off, our little robot army was following our protagonist into this vault, and what we find out is the vault literally has just history from Earth, works of art, all kinds of shit, including fetuses, live human babies, like frozen into cryo frozen. So we have a library of humans that are in this vault that have tried to escape the network. And what we find out is that our guy, our protagonist, essentially is responsible for the network. And so when he died, he left this plan to essentially regenerate himself. And so that's what we're seeing here with this new version of himself. What's crazy about this book, and this will be a real quick review of this, is the android, or the woman that has been like taking care of him since he was a baby, is an android that he built before he died, but she evolved. Does that make sense? Like she, AI and her have evolved, and he didn't see it coming. And the crazy thing is she is modeled after his wife from the past. And so she comes to find out that she is basically a genetic copy, not genetic, but modeled to look like his wife from the past life. And she freaks out. She's like, "Did you know?" And he's like, "Before the upload, I had no idea, and I feel absolutely horrible about it. Basically, you are a carbon copy of my wife, and I tried to bring her back, and it didn't work." And there's like, they go into a room, and there are like dozens of like versions of her, like waiting to be activated. And so she loses it. She's like, "This is fucked up." And he's like, "Listen, I didn't know, and when I found out, I didn't know how to approach you and tell you that this is what happened."
Yeah.
So they kind of have a talk it out moment, and then they realize before they can like really like amend things, the network shows up, and our protagonist basically says to all the robots like, you all are more than just robots. You all have evolved. You are, you're more than just nuts and bolts. Like, you all have your life is just as worth a humans. So let's fight. Will you fight with me? And they're like, yeah. And so they break out of the vault. They fight the network. They essentially get their ass kicked. And before the battle's over, one of the robots that was with the group originally, before they really got the book started in the first issue, died the last issue, and he's back, and he's actually infected with the network, and he almost kills our protagonist, but the female robot essentially saves the day, but she gets infected, and her like the network infects her, and she like gets crystallized, and her flesh gets ripped off, and she succumbs to the virus or the network, and she tells the protagonist like, run, get out of here. And so that's how the issue ends, is she basically gets infected by the network, and the network's like, you work for us now, you're gonna help us find this dude, because we need to kill him or he's gonna kill us. And that's how the issue ends. And I was like, oh shit. So it got crazy. It got real crazy.
Really got crazy real quick.
I told you, dude. I think issue 6 is gonna be balls to the wall crazy. So I really enjoyed it. It wasn't my pick of the week, but I enjoyed it. I'm so glad I picked up the book and stuck with it, and I'm really excited for the conclusion of 6 next month. So that's Origins number 5. All right, here we go. UltraMega number 1. This is my pick of the week. Gong noise. Insert gong noise. This was a fantastic surprise. I really enjoyed this book. This book has got everything in it. It's got kaiju battles, cosmic aliens, cosmic powers, crazy story, fucking Stephen King style horror, like body grotesque horror,
body horror.
Yep. And it's got a heart. I'll say this. I don't want to spoil this book at all. I don't want to give anything away at all, really. But what I'll say about this that I really like about it is James Herron establishes what you think is main characters, and then by the end of it, they're gone. And I love that. Because you can. I'll say this: you can do that and piss off a lot of readers, and nobody will pick up number 2. He did that, and I was like, "Give me number 2. Give me number 2 now. I want it
really well.
I want it now." Essentially, the premise. I'll say the premise is: so there's this virus, this kaiju virus that is on Earth that can hit anybody at any moment, and if you get infected by it, you immediately turn into like a giant, nasty monster. And so this alien race has given powers to 3 individuals that can turn into these UltraMega superhero guys. But the way they do it is they take like this eyeball, and they like infuse it into your chest. So you kind of see it on the cover. And so they turn into these, Ultramen. And one of them, I forget, one of them is like a nerd, and he, super techie. And so, like, in his first fight, he thought he was invincible, and he ended up getting his arm ripped off. And so from that fight on, he never fought again, and he just continued to work on, like, building robots that would later on be able to fight the kaiju. Then you had, kind of like a nomad kind of... Do you know the second character? I was kind of confused on that. The second guy that gets powers.
Ern,
yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't quite understand who he is or what he does.
I don't either. I mean, he literally says, and then there was Ern. I didn't learn much about him.
Okay, so that's
and
on
he
purpose.
says he was swallowed by responsibility. He stalked the streets by day and night before finally vanishing completely.
Yeah, so he just gives up. Like, he doesn't take responsibility to fighting the kaiju.
Right.
And then you have your main character who, has a family. He's got a baby. He's basically a retired boxer who got his ass kicked in his last bout, and so then he was a janitor, and then a robot took over his job, so now he's jobless. And so he's, his job now is to fight giant monsters. What we find out is when these dudes are walking around, they can see individuals who are infected, and if they get too close to them, they actually trigger them turning into the kaiju. And so at one point he's like in a market and he sees a pregnant woman and he can tell that she's infected, and he's like he tries to stop her from doing something, and he activates her turning into a kaiju, and so they go out and fight.
Yeah, it's just like him. He says that him being in proximity to them, it's like if they're on the edge, then him being close just sends them over the edge, and they turn into the kaiju.
So he fights that one. It's pretty fucking wicked. So it's like the mom and the baby, and it's pretty gross. But he ends up defeating it, and he transforms back to being a human. But sometimes it doesn't work quite well, and so when he transforms, his head is just like a little too big. And so like when the cops show up and the firefighters show up, they're like, "You all right, dude? Like your head's off." And he's like, "I'm fine. It'll be back. It'll go back to normal." And he calls his wife, and his wife's like, "Yeah, I see you on the news. Is your head okay?" And he's like, "Yeah, don't worry about it. I'll have like a stiff neck tomorrow. It's no big deal."
Yeah.
But then what we find out is the body of the woman who turned into a kaiju like becomes possessed, and it's really fucking gross. Like she's got like these like worms coming out of her mouth and like bleh, and she basically communicates to him and says like, your wife and child will see you soon. Like, beware. And as a reader, you're like, what is she talking about? We just met them. Well, we come to find out that he actually had and I'm spoiling the book. I don't give a fuck. He had a previous family, and the wife, when he gained the powers, he saw that she was on the edge, that she was infected with the child. And so he left. He fucking abandoned his family.
Well, because he knew that his powers were going to trigger them.
Right. And so he leaves them, and he got the government involved and said, "Hey, put these people like way out in the country so that I never see them, and they're never, no individual with this power will come towards them, and they'll never change." Well, that didn't really work out too well. It manifested, and it got bad. It gets really bad to the point where the other two Ultramen essentially see this giant fist just explode through the city, and they show up and they're like, "Yo, we really don't want to do this, but you've let this fester for so long." Like, you can only imagine like when someone gets pushed over the edge at the beginning how big they are. Can you imagine what's going on with this being 6 or 7 years?
Right.
And so it's like a giant ass monster. They go and fight it, and they get their asses kicked. So our tech guy gets thrown onto a skyscraper.
Yeah, impaled by like a Empire State Building.
So he's out. Ern goes Super Saiyan in Ultra mode and tries to fight this monster. He gets his ass kicked. And then our main character ends up fighting, and he gets his ass kicked. I mean, he gets his foot bit off. And
his kid eats his leg and disembowels him.
Yep. And so he does like a last ditch effort and he does like an UltraMega punch, and I think he's successful if I'm not no, he's not. I don't remember what happens to the monster, but in the end I think he defeats it, but in the process he gets his head ripped off. And
punched
off, and he dies. But he never transforms back into a human, so all that blood, all of that, like everything just starts flooding the city. And when this is going on, his new wife and child are trying to escape the city, and they get caught up in the mayhem. And the mother ends up drowning in the husband's blood, but she holds her baby up above the blood until it solidifies and the baby survives. It's so, like, when I read that, I was like, holy shit. Like, there were a ton of oh shit moments in this book, but that one took the fucking cake. I was like, holy, like, that is heavy. So the baby survives, but all of our main characters, their significant others, they die. And so we cut to, I think it's like 10 years later or 7 years later. And all the tech that the tech kaiju guy was working on has become the norm. You've got robots that are now policing the streets. They have technology that can scan a human being and realize that they are potentially or infected by the kaiju virus. And so they're left to fend they're not left to fend for themselves, but they're kicked out of the city essentially. And supplies are dropped for them daily so that they can survive and not harm anybody. And then we get introduced to what looks like our new main character, which I think is the son of the boy.
Yeah, for sure.
He finds like a power gauntlet and, he's in this wasteland and he gets, he's basically, what's the word? He's a gang shows up and is like, hey, what'd you find? Like, we're going to steal it. And he goes, no, I fight with the UltraMega. And he like puts the gauntlet on and it powers up and you're like, oh shit. It was just cool. Like, Nathan, you've never seen any Trigger animes. It's a anime company in Japan called Trigger. But they've made multiple shows that feel exactly like this. Like the way it's written, the way it's paced, just the overall like absurdity of it is like this. The last show that I watched that they produced was called Kill La Kill, and it was about there's this thing called like life thread that every human being has, and it was basically like clothing is actually made from this life thread that's actually from aliens. And so it's I can't even explain it, but it's super fast and raw, and like this emulates it perfectly. And it also, this book has vibes, again, this is a show you've never seen but I highly recommend, is Evangelion, Neon Genesis Evangelion. The way like how the kaiju or the UltraMega guys were being killed totally reminded me of that anime. Like in that show, the robots that the main character's pilot are actually humanoid, and so like when an arm got ripped off, there was a shit ton of blood that would like go into the city, and like that same shit where like his blood flooded the city and killed people. Like the same thing happens in that anime. It just had a lot of nostalgia for me, but I really enjoyed the book and I loved the writing, like, and the artwork and the coloring. Like overall, this book just had everything, and it wanted me wanting more. Yeah,
I mean, the artwork in the book, to me, this was, as far as art goes, this is definitely the pick of the week for art. Like it's phenomenal. Obviously, like it's super like there's a lot of body horror. Sometimes it could have been a touch too much for me.
Yeah, I agree.
But I wouldn't say enough to distract me from the book. I think if there's one phrase that I think perfectly sums up this book, it's a fever dream. Like it's like it's so quick and so blurry that sometimes maybe some of the more minute details get left out because you're going so quickly that it just kind of all feels like a blur.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think James Herron did that on purpose, to sort of like fill in the blanks a little bit, just like make your assumptions about some of the less essential parts of the story, and just really focused on the meat. And I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would.
So let's talk about the art. So like this is one of the panels I shared with you to get you to get the book. Like that shit's just crazy. When our main character gets introduced to becoming a kaiju or UltraMega. An example of like the body horror being a little over the top, and it's another panel that I sent to you, and you were like, yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna get this book. And I'm gonna show it. So just being warned, if you're not into this kind of shit, either pause the video or fast forward. But here's some of the body horror that's fucking gross. But overall, like, the fight scenes in this book are just badass. I felt like the story and like how things are moving, I thought was awesome. And I just like the idea of, like even with this family, like did not see that coming. And like throwing that in there. And again, like, I cared for all these characters, and they're wiped out within like 4 pages. And the other thing is I really love this cover. And then today we went back to the shop, and you got cover B, and I had to pick it up.
Yeah,
dude, that is so. Who's the artist for that again? He did the Silver Surfer Black, right?
Yeah, Treadmore.
Yeah, this cover's fire too. And I had the opportunity to get the 1 in 25, and I didn't do it. And then when I went back today, it wasn't there. So either way, Ultraman #1 is my pick of the week. I cannot wait for issue 2. I am super excited for it. I did not expect this story. I thought it was going to be like a straight up kaiju story, and it's not. Like, there's so much going on in this book. So if you're if you have a stomach more for like some more grotesque stuff, because that's in this book, I highly recommend this book. It is so badass.
Go for it.
All right. So that is our show for March 17th.
Yes.
Yeah, because it's yesterday. Yeah, see, because usually we're 2 days away, so I had to think about that one. Anyway, that's our show. Real quick, we're going to talk about it again. Again, if you're watching this, thank you, Lou. We appreciate it. If you're watching this on YouTube right now, if it's been uploaded, we upload our episodes to YouTube. Please, please, please subscribe. And like we said before, we are doing a giveaway. So when we hit 100 subscribers, we are going to be giving away Wolverine's Origins 9.6 CGC graded. When we hit 250 subscribers, we will be giving away this 9.4 CGC graded Wolverine #1. When we hit... I'm sorry, that's not right. If we hit 200 subscribers, we're giving away this Batman Who Laughs tie-in 9.8. And then at 500... we're giving away Wolverine #1 9.4. And then when we hit 1,000, we are doing 9.8 CBCS graded Amazing Spider-Man #4 from the original Sin, the first appearance of Silk.
So can I use my other YouTube to like and comment and subscribe?
You may not. I'm sorry, Nate. I knew you were gonna say that. Like, I'm gonna get that book. Well, I'm sorry. Maybe for Christmas.
Okay. Lou's IG is Professor Comics.
Yes,
quite familiar.
We appreciate your support on IG, and we love your posts. And I'm sure you've already subscribed to our show, so you're already in the gauntlet to potentially win some of these slabs. But yep, that is our show. And again, please subscribe if you're on YouTube. And we'll see you guys next week. I think we're going to do a solicitation video soon on YouTube, so keep an eye out for that. And if you're watching us on Twitch, thanks again for watching us live, and we'll see y'all next week.
See ya.
Later.